Hi, everybody, and a very pleasant good evening to you wherever you may be. This is Comfortably Zoned Radio, and you're listening to Dodgers Baseball, a tale of two cities, from Brooklyn to Los Angeles. I'm your host, Peter Trunk, and my co-hosts are Linda Wilson and Bernie Rose. Bernie is on assignment. Linda is with me. She's ready to share a great story with us regarding her weekend and Vin Scully. And before she does that, I want to play a little Vin Scully for you from Ebbets Field in Brooklyn, August the 31st, 1957. The Giants are playing the Dodgers, and Sal Maglie is pitching for the Dodgers. Here's Vin Scully. Well, it didn't work, so... So I have to regroup. This is going to be Connie Desmond in the beginning, and here it is.
Danny O'Connell, Don Mueller, and Willie Mays. And Maglie goes to work and misses inside, ball one. O'Connell batting .265 with 7 home runs, 31 runs batted in. Checks his sign, back he comes, and his curve drops too low, ball two. Fine crowd on hand. We have over 2,000 not-hole youngsters here today, and we're delighted to see the youngsters in the ballpark. Maglie delivers 2-0, and the fastball is over. 2-1. Tommy Gorman, the plate umpire. Dusty Botton is at first. Burkhardt at second, Al Dixon at third. Project's not feeling well, so they kind of twisted the proper rotation around a bit. 2 runners inside, ball 3. 3-1. O'Connell now takes a look at Davey Williams to see if there's a sign out. 3 balls, 1 strike. The leadoff man, Danny O'Connell. 3-1 pitches in there, strike 2. Full count to Danny. Maglie rubbing at the ball, looks in to get his sign now from Johnny Roseboro. And the 3-2 pitch to Danny O'Connell. Cut on a fly ball into right center and shallow. Rolo and Snyder coming over. It's throw for the catch. 1 away. flags him out to him. Strike 2 pitch. Mays swings, and it's a base hit into left field. Mueller goes to second and holds on. So Willie hits an 0-2 pitch into left for a base hit, and the batter, Ray Jablonski. Batting .299, 7 home runs, 41 runs batted in. Don Mueller at second, Willie Mays at first. 1 out, first inning, no score. Mueller looks to his man, now works the plate and misses inside. Ball 1. On deck, Hank Sowers. Inning jam. Kyle turns on the rubber, now set. The 1-0 pitch. Low curve in for the strike. 1-1. Both the Giants and the Dodgers were talking about Don Drysdale's brilliant performance last night. That's all the Giants were talking about in their dressing room after the game. Shaking their heads and saying he's quite a kid. Decides to back off the rubber now, just staring in. 1 ball, 1 strike to Ray Jablonski. Bagley looks to his runners and delivers 1-1 on the sharp curve. Shot and miss. 1-2. Nothing's reported all in the American League. All their games are at night. There are 2 afternoon games in the National League besides this one. 1-2 pitch. Fastball in there. Call strike 3. Ray Jablonski had to be guessing that time. Bagley came right down the middle with the fastball. 2 outs. Here's Hank Sowers. Hank batting .260. 22 home runs, 64 runs batted in. In the games we played this afternoon, Pittsburgh and Philadelphia, Brendan Cardwell. The Cardinals and the Cubs, Wiemeyer against either Stroud or Elson. These are probable. And Milwaukee at Cincinnati tonight. So we'll have a pretty quiet scoreboard today. Tower waiting. Magley gonna let him hang up there. Now Magley ready and delivers. Curveball, low and inside. Ball 1. 1-0. Not only do we have a 6,000 all young ladies stay here and have quite a representation. I don't think we're going to have our over 4,000 ladies that we had a week ago. Nice to have the gals out here with us. Bagley delivers 1-0 to Sauer, and the curve is over. 1-1. Don Mueller, not run up along third for a base hit. Mays single to left. Jablonski is struck out. So with 2 down, the count to Hank Sauer. 1 ball, 1 strike. Bagley ready, the 1-1er. Sharp curve, and there's a fly ball to the shallow left. The ball is trotting in. Under it now and takes it for the out. And that does it. So the Giants in the first inning, no runs, 2 hits. They leave 2 men. At the end of half an inning, the Giants nothing and the Dodgers coming up. Jim Gilliam batting .253 with a home run and 31 runs batted in. Gilliam, Savoli, and Snyder in the bottom of the first inning, no score. Al Worthington ready to go with a record of 8 wins and 9 defeats. He is 1-0 against Brooklyn and lifetime 4-1. Big right-hander. Delivers and wrinkles the first one in for a strike. 1-1. His slider didn't break too much. Bonsky about even with the bag at third. Worthington ready to work, and the strike one pitch. Gilliam runs up as if to bunt and takes it low. 1 ball, 1 strike. Begin the chant now. We want to hit. The 1-1 pitch to Gilliam, a curveball grounded foul outside of first base. 1-2. Worthington checking signs. Now ready now. The 1-2 pitch to Gilliam. High. Jumps out of Valmy Thomas's glove. 2-2. Worthington has 1 complete game in 10 starts. It was a beauty. He defeated Philadelphia 1-0, allowing just 3 hits. He delivers 2-2 to Gilliam, and that one slips is way high, ball 3. Worthington kind of looks at his right hand as if it's done him wrong. 3-2. Gilliam, and the pitch is bounced to the right of O'Connell, who's up with it, turns and flips back to first in time for the out. 1 up, 1 away. Dino Cimoli batting .302. He has 10 home runs, 52 runs batted in. Worthington just waiting. Now that is ready and delivers. Cimoli jumps away. A fastball at his knees. Ball 1. 1 out. Last of the first inning. Bases empty. No scores. Giants and Dodgers. The 1-0 pitch to Dino. Curve cut on and fouled away upstairs for 1-1. The Giants will make their final appearance of 1957 here at Ebbets Field tomorrow afternoon. Johnny Padres will be here to try and usher them out. And for the Giants, Ray Combs. So it should be a good one. Plenty of seats, somewhere like 20,000 seats available, just waiting to be picked up, and we hope you'll spend the time with us. Sidearm curve is inside, ball 2. Turn 1. Lined into right center. Mays on the run. The ball slicing away from him and going into the alleyway. Cimoli on his way for second and makes a turn. He's cut off by O'Connell. Cimoli's going to be hung up. Now goes driving back to second and makes it. Billy Mays made a tremendous play in the alleyway. And Cimoli made one basic mistake. He took something for granted. He's lucky, however, he got back to second safely. Well, when Cimoli saw the ball go by Mays heading for the alleyway, it must have flashed in Gino's mind, well, I'll take 3. Mays grabbed the ball on a bounce with his back to home plate. Made an awkward twisting throw back towards Danny O'Connell.
I started working in television in 1980.
That's it. I hope you enjoyed it.
Love it.
Vin.
Greatest of all time.
He's definitely the greatest. Smooth. Mr. Smooth Operator, boy. I'll tell you.
Now, that was 1957, right?
That was August of 1950.
Okay.
That was the second last game that the Giants ever played in Ebbets.
Yeah. Okay.
I have the tape of the next day's game also, where the Dodgers beat them in a high-scoring contest. but that was the final. Well, they were heading into the final month because the very next day was September 1st,
right,
of '57. So that was the death knell. It was all over but the shouting. And I know I've said this so many times in the past, and I still have to say it because it's true. I never believed that they were leaving. Now, I had just turned, August the 28th, 3 days before that game, I had just turned 11. And, of course, I had no way I was going to believe that the Dodgers were going to Los Angeles. There's just no way. And, of course, it did happen, but it just, maybe the older folks back then, people with a little more wisdom, and they read more deeply into the politics of the day. Maybe they knew that the Dodgers were actually going to go. But us, we kids in the neighborhood, with all our Dodger caps and everything, there's not one kid in that neighborhood that thought the Dodgers were leaving. We didn't come outside and start saying to each other, gee whiz, the Dodgers are leaving, they're going to go to L.A. And so we never said that. We always said, they're full of crap. They ain't going anywhere. They're the Dodgers, man. They're the Brooklyn Dodgers. They're not going anywhere. And we kept that up, kept it up. And I'll tell you what, the very next year when the Dodgers came on TV, I forget why and when they were on TV, and I saw the L.A. on the caps. I couldn't believe it. I was stunned, absolutely, positively stunned. I could not believe that. In fact, my uncle died, and he was laid out in a funeral parlor about 3 blocks from Ebbets Field that winter, and my uncle took me over to Ebbets Field during the wake, and we got out of the car and walked around Ebbets Field. Of course, it was pitch dark, and there were no lights or anything like that. And that was in the winter of them leaving. And I walked around Ebbets Field, and I saw the outside of it, and, post no bills, but of course there were bills posted everywhere about boxing matches that were coming up at Madison Square Garden and, whatever, horse races and just stuff like that. But we walked all the way around, came back to the car, and then we drove back to the wake. And I guess that was my wake for Ebbets Field. Anyway, you had quite an interesting weekend, Linda Wilson, and it all entailed, or most of it, if not all of it, entailed Mr. Vin Scully. And I would like to close my mouth and listen to your weekend. What happened?
Oh, okay. Well, that's great. Well, you mentioned being in denial about the Dodgers leaving Brooklyn. I'm almost in denial that Vin's actually retiring. I won't believe it till his last game Sunday in San Francisco. But I'll tell you, it was very, very emotional this weekend. I had already, early in the season, bought a ticket for Friday night's game because they had already announced it as Vin Scully Appreciation Night. And then I ended up staying another day and going to Saturday night's game because they had a Vin Scully commemorative coin giveaway, and I wanted to be there for that. So the entire weekend was dedicated to him. I wish I could have been there Sunday for the day that they clinched the division, but I couldn't. So anyway, Friday night, the pregame ceremony was ran probably about an hour long, and it was dedicated to honoring Vin, and I'm sure a lot of people know there were many dignitaries as well as former Dodger players and former executives, people that have known Vin for a long time that spoke. And it really got to me when Sandy Koufax stood up and said that he'd been in the stadium so many times, but he'd never been more nervous than he was right then because he was giving, paying tribute to dear friend, Vin Scully. And that was very touching. And Jaime Jarrín, the Dodgers Hall of Fame baseball Hall of Fame broadcaster who does the Spanish language for the Dodgers, gave a very eloquent speech about how much Vin had helped him along and how they'd become good friends over the years. And there were plenty of other people present that did not speak. Don Newcomb was down on the field the entire time, and as it's documented that he actually pitched the first game that been broadcast back in 1950. I could see him getting a little teary. I could see most of the people down there on the field getting a little teary. And I'll tell you, I have never gotten to a Friday night game as early as I did because I knew it was a sellout, and Friday traffic in LA is worse than most of the week. So I'd already been in the city all day long, so I got there fairly early. But I have never seen such a early arriving crowd. I think everybody must have taken off work early because when the ceremony started, there was absolutely nobody near the concession stands or in line for anything. Everybody was standing or sitting in their seat or standing over the railing watching the ceremony going on the field. And it was just absolutely emotional for everybody in attendance. I don't care what age you were because I saw little children. I saw, older people in their 80s and 90s. No doubt had been young back in the days when he called his first broadcast. And it was great to see all the multi-generation families. And I talked to a few people that had come in from out of town for this, and some of them had actually come in from the East Coast. And I know a lot of Dodger fans that still live on the East Coast, and people just didn't want to miss it. They wanted to be there for it. So that in itself was so very emotional right before the game. But then the Dodgers went out and they won the game. And the next night, they had the Vin Scully commemorative coin giveaway. And I got there really early again for that. And just, again, people just walking around the stadium, so many different people wearing some kind of T-shirt or something commemorating Vin. Now, I have 4 different designs of T-shirts that commemorate Vin in some way, but I saw all kinds of other designs I had never seen before. I saw one that had a halo over his head, said St. Vincent, and it was cute. And there were several different versions of, thank you, Vin, for 67 years. I have one myself. And there were a few other designs that I hadn't seen before. And you walked around the concourse in the stadium, and I'll tell you, people were lining up for all kinds of things. There was one Time Warner Cable, who runs the Dodger station, Sportsnet LA. They had a special thing where you could take your picture with with a cardboard cutout, and the line was going all the way through the stadium. I didn't stand in it because I wanted to see the game. And also another thing, it was kind of fun because I hadn't seen Kershaw pitch since back in April. And so here I was back in September for this game, and first time I've seen him pitch in person for at the beginning of the season. So, and he had just a great game as expected, and so everything just kind of came together great. And the next day, of course, they clinched the division, and you couldn't ask for a better way to end it. It went one extra inning, and walk-off home run by an unlikely hero who hasn't hit a home run in 2 years. So it was just a great weekend overall. I watched the Sunday game from home, and then of course he ended up having the post-game song, what they played the recording of the song that's in this thing to the fans, and it was just amazing. And I love that the players all stood on the field and they didn't do all their celebrating, and they held out until this was all, all the things honoring them were over with, and then they started spraying the champagne. But it was pretty touching. And during this game on Sunday, every individual player in the Dodger lineup had paid tribute to him by either tipping their cap or waving up toward the broadcast.
That was really, that part, I was waiting for you to get to that part, because that part really, really touched me. Because Vin actually said, "Are they saluting us up here?"
Right,
and his right-hand man said, "Yes, they are." And he couldn't believe it, and he waved back. It was very, very touching, very touching, along with his song, which also was extremely touching. And I can't let you tell your story without adding the fact that the kid, Seager, hit the home run to even send the ball game into the 10th inning. Right. Hit that home run in the bottom of the ninth. That was quite a blast.
Right. And of course, it was. And
I think he wrapped up. I think he wrapped up Rookie of the Year honors with that one.
Yeah, I think so. And of all things, 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth. And as Vin said during the call, was, "Would you believe it? We're going to extra innings." He didn't have anything else. He didn't have anything else to do this afternoon, did you? So when he called the walk-off by Charlie Culberson, he said, "Leave it to the Dodgers. This is the way that they would clinch the division." And they did it on schedule, meaning that they didn't have to wait another few minutes until the Padres.
I heard him say that. Yeah.
You had these 2 critical games going on, being played 100 miles apart. San Diego playing the Giants, and then Dodgers playing the Rockies, and any one of these outcomes they're just waiting for, and they did it on their own terms. So he mentioned about how they did it on schedule. If they had lost and had to wait for the Padres to beat the Giants, he said it would have taken a little bit of fizz out of the champagne, but they still would have drank it. Anyway, they didn't have to worry about that. They drank it on their own terms, and it was just an absolutely great weekend. I wouldn't trade that weekend for anything. It was. I've been to all kinds of, I've been to victory parade, championship parades. I've been to, clinching games and things before, but I'll tell you, having Vin's final home broadcast it was so special. And Dodger broadcaster Charlie Steiner broke down on the air on the radio. He was so touched about, the thought of, the team moving on without him. And I personally can't imagine how it's going to happen, because I don't know how we fans are going to adjust. I'll just be like you. I'm going to pretend like you back in 1957. You don't believe it till you see it, right?
Exactly. And in this case, it'll be hear it instead of see it.
Right.
It'll be sad. It'll be very sad.
It will, I know. But I am just so glad that, he's going to be able to enjoy his retirement. I'm glad that he went way, way, way beyond what any other broadcaster's years of service are. I mean, he really went extra innings for us all those years. And one other thing is that, not only, I mentioned a few of the Brooklyn Dodgers that were on hand for the Friday night ceremony honoring him. Saturday night, the Roy Campanella Annual Award was given out. So Roy's daughter, Joni Campanella, was there, and Chase Utley won that award, which I thought was very fitting. For the most, inspirational, that embodies the spirit of Roy Campanella, and it was really touching to see that before the game. And then, of course, they won that game. That was, I'll tell you, one of those games, 14-1, and everybody booed when they lost the shutout late in the game.
Yeah.
It was still great. It was still great, and I can't say enough about, what a wonderful weekend it was. Oh, and then one more thing I was just thinking about is that Vin has broadcast over half of the overall seasons that the Dodgers have been in existence. You know, they began in 1890 in the National League, and he has broadcast more than half of those seasons. So that's something that you can't imagine the Dodgers without Vin Scully. I've had people who are fans of other teams tell me the same thing. You know, that he is the Dodgers, and how are you guys going to go on without him? And I said, I don't know. It's something that many generations have not had to figure out.
Exactly.
And he's deserving of every superlative that he gets, because the last few weeks, just been reading a lot of articles, seeing a lot of tributes online, and I can't get enough of it. Every time I watch one, I gotta cry, and it just seems like, you know,
you're not alone.
Yeah, I know.
Not alone. There's a lot of there wasn't a around. I know.
I was telling a friend of mine they should have, instead of having a Vin Scully commemorative coin, they should have had a commemorative box of Kleenex. I'll tell you though, there were not enough Kleenex to keep me dry, because I had to go to the crying towels. It was just such a long, dramatic weekend, and like I said before, I wouldn't trade it for anything. Really, really special.
That's great that you had the chance to act upon that and to exercise your, coming up from San Diego like you did, and staying the extra night like you did, and experiencing that. That's really, really great, and I know it meant a lot to you. And I'm very, very. Every time I think of it, I get a big smile on my face.
Yeah.
Because it's people, it's fans like you, Linda Wilson, that deserve things like that, and I'm so glad that you got to experience it firsthand. And also, I'm hoping for the Dodgers to do well in the postseason, and
win for Vin.
Yeah, win for Vin, and we'll see if they can pull that off. Now, that's going to be a tall order, because in a short series in the postseason, anything and everything can happen, and usually does. And the best team doesn't always win in baseball. We know that, and we're just going to have to see how the baseball gods treat the Dodgers going forward in the next couple of weeks. We'll see how sharp. I always want to say Koufax. Isn't that funny? Kershaw. We're going to see how sharp Kershaw is going to be.
Vin has made that mistake a few times. Vin has made that mistake a few times and said Kershaw.
Yep. Yeah, I do that often. But the Dodgers are going to, I don't know. McCarthy looks really good. I'm not so sure. Well, everybody's dinged up. I mean, all the other teams also. Let's face it, Washington just got another major blow today. Ramos, their catcher, their fine catcher. Mm-hmm. Probably the only guy who's better than Jonathan LaCroix in the whole of baseball right now, unless a Yankee fan wants to argue about the kid Sanchez. But they were dealt that today, Washington was, and the Mets have had more people on the DL than the Dodgers probably, or just as many. Everybody's dinged up, so we're going to have to see what happens. Dodgers have a major league
record. You know that, right?
Yes, they do. They have 28.
So the Mets don't have more.
No, but the Mets do have a lot of injuries, and they have repeated injuries. Like, you don't count a guy who goes on the DL twice or three times. And
we've had a few of those too.
Okay.
How many they come right off the DL and they go right back on, don't they?
But my point is simple. Everyone seems to be dinged up, and we're going to see what happens. My worst fear is that the Giants somehow get into the postseason and win and go to the World Series, and it's going to ruin my entire summer. I know summer is officially over, but it's going to ruin my entire year if the Giants go to the World Series. It really is. It's going to kill me. It's going to kill me.
Oh,
anyway, I want to thank you for your memories and sharing them on the show with us tonight. And I'm glad that you had the opportunity for all of that stuff to happen.
Yeah,
and I think we'll close the show out.
Sounds good.
Thinking of Vin Scully, and he's got 3 more games to go. And I'm hoping that the Dodgers sweep the Giants and keep them out of the postseason.
Wouldn't that be beautiful?
Yes, that would be beautiful. And we'll see if they can do that.
You know, when you were playing that tape, it reminded me of, I've heard Ben tell many times the story of the last game ever played at Ebbets Field and how Gladys Gooding was playing all these dirges. He said, as the game went on, the music just got more and more somber. And he said, she sat up there in the organ booth with a little brown bag full of something she was drinking, and he said it just got more morose as the game went on. I could just imagine that. But
at one point, O'Malley banged on the door of Gladys Gooding's little room there where she played the organ and sang, and he's banging on the door, yelling, "Gladys, cut it out, cut it out." She just kept on doing it. In fact, after that, she played, what did she play? What's the song about L.A.?
It's not I Love L.A.
She really, what can he do to me? Can he fire me? It was the final game.
Yes, exactly.
It was horrible. Anyway, thank you again for your input. I appreciate it, and we'll see you next week. And Bernie will be back with us, back from his assignment, and we'll have another show.
Sounds good. All right.
Okay, Linda. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.
More this weekend. Okay. All right. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye.